for my 20-year career in public relations and marketing, I've been a dreamer and a doer. That's really how I built my reputation and how people have come to know me. So as I've grown, hopefully in wisdom through the years, I've realized there have been certain fundamental parts of the process. And let me tell you, kind of give you some insight into my world. In 2012, I made a decision to move to Austin, Texas. And after many years of being an instructor at the University of Central Florida, I decided to go out to the Lone Star State and become an entrepreneur. And was a sole practitioner, established my company, and quite frankly, I just went, I had the dream in my mind, but I went straight into doing. I had a potential client opportunity, contacted them, said, "You need my help." They were in just a little bit of a crisis at the time, and they said, "Yes, we do." And so over time, of course, I was fortunate to secure them on retainer and quickly get to work and go straight into serving my client.
Well, that sounds perfect, though, right?
Right. One would think, right? So as my business grew and more clients retained me, and ultimately I was representing many companies and brands, I realized that my internal infrastructure wasn't as established or thought through as it needed to be. That I was only one person. I couldn't be everything to everyone. And so motto number 3 was created as a result of much reflection on lessons learned and growing too quickly, quite frankly. And it's not to say that I don't wish to grow quickly in a new marketplace as I do right now, but it's really being reflective and developing a business model that is sustainable. And I think that's something that we have to really reflect on today, is how do we create a business that's sustainable? What are the factors involved?
Well, it's really easy to, I feel like dreaming it is the easiest thing to do. It's, we can all dream about, I always talk about how I have a million ideas and but then doing it is obviously, is hard. But then designing it is, I think actually the hardest part. It's easy to skip the design, start doing, and then you kind of get far and you realize, oh, it's hard to go backwards and try to then restructure things. So if you kind of can do that initially, I think that's one of those things that's of huge value. That way you don't have to kind of backtrack too much.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you think about these mottos, dream it, design it, do it, you think it's just, that's the process. It happens in that direction. And actually it doesn't. For me, when I look at my notes here, I think about I was dreaming about the concept of what I'm doing today perhaps a decade ago. We are approaching 2019. 2019! So if I was to go back 10 years ago in 2009, I had some major life changes. I was teaching at the time, and there were all sorts of thoughts that were bubbling out of my head, 2009, 2010, 2011, that I remember just jotting down on sticky notes. And I would create these vision boards, and I had journals that I kept every day, and I was just, dreaming and thinking about the future, not knowing that it would actually come to pass. And I was in a completely different career place in my life, but I was capturing what I was reflecting on deeply. Again, that was 10 years ago. I was writing these notes. I was keeping these journals. I was starting to develop what I would eventually create as a business plan for the company I have today. So I don't think it's as linear as one expects. Quite frankly, it's, a lot of jumping around and zigzag and up and down. And as Todd so candidly said to me, I mentioned this motto number 3 was established in part perhaps out of my own failure. And he corrected me. What? What did you say there?
Well, it's only a failure if you don't learn from that. So, I think part of just being a human and being an entrepreneur is, you make a ton of mistakes, but it really is, and we talk about it time and time again, how, so many of the most successful people failed so many times. But, there's always a takeaway from that. You learn something. And so moving forward, you can kind of not make that mistake again, obviously. If you make the same mistakes again and again, then clearly, that's an issue. But if you can move past it and learn and improve the process, that's when the magic really happens. You have to kind of think about too. But I wanted to backtrack for a second on something you said, just to kind of expand upon. You said that in 2009 you started writing down these ideas and thoughts, and kind of I've been taught that writing crystallizes thought and ideas, and so I'm kind of curious is, you said you couldn't necessarily envision where you would be today back then, but yet you were kind of you're dreaming it and writing it down. Do you feel like that process is kind of what helped materialize, manifest these things later on?
Yeah, I have to say I have chills right now as you're saying that. So yes, absolutely. I think so often when you're stuck in a rut, you just are, kind of living in your head, and maybe you're unhappy in your job, or you're unhappy in your marriage, or you're unhappy in, the town that you live in. And so at some point we have to take these perhaps frustrations and move into action. And I know for myself, when I reflect on where I was in 2009 and where I am headed in 2019, my life is dramatically different. I was in Florida, and now I live in Pennsylvania. I was single, now I'm married. I'm a stepmother. I have a family, I have a business. I'm a completely different person than I was 10 years ago.
Sure.
But 10 years ago, I was spending a lot of time dreaming, but I also was planning. And I think, they say an idea lives in your head, it's a dream until you write it down, and that's what puts it into plan. And so when you look at motto number 3, dream it, design it, do it. Think of it as, okay, we have to carve out time for reflecting and for long walks on the beach or runs around the neighborhood to just be in thought. And, for me, it's kind of in that spiritual realm, things that don't necessarily crystallize until, yes, all these years later, where you realize that process was going on, that designing was in the making. You just hadn't moved into the action there.
Absolutely.
So I think, we can shift from dreaming and reflection, and again, in frustration perhaps, journaling, sticky notes. I know a lot of people love sticky notes. Vision boards, spending time. Have you ever created a vision board?
I haven't really. I mean, I have written some notes, but I haven't actually done a full vision board.
Okay, so
but,
for years...
Maybe you'll help me with that.
Yes, I will help you with that. For years, every single year, I had a vision board. And it was tacked in my closet or somewhere in my bedroom that I could see. And oftentimes, it's just a collage of pictures and expressions that, you are trying to manifest a future state of reality. So, when I made the decision to move from Florida to Texas, there were certain elements of my vision board that was reflecting that. I was cutting out pieces of a magazine that said Texas State University. Would you believe, lo and behold, I eventually taught at Texas State University. Right. So some of these things that, again, you have in your head, and then you put them on a board and you reflect on on a regular basis, moves it into action, but you have to ultimately, put that into place, right?
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about how professionals can kind of foster the dreaming phase and then transfer that into the designing.
It's a great question, and I think it's important that I say I don't think that professionals should be living in la la land and should waste time in doing such. I think it's all about intentional manifestation. There are a couple different exercises that you can use. I know for myself, I wake up every single morning, I make my coffee, I read a devotional, and then I pick up my journal and I make a list. And so that I do every single day without fail. And that's just part of what I do and how I ultimately open the door for creativity, kind of unannounced creativity. Perfect. Sometimes it's getting away from the office, going to a place in nature, running, exercise. Where do you go to be inspired? Go to that place and just let the ideas flow, but then jot them down and put them into writing the next day. I'm huge on vision boards. Again, intentional manifestation. You're writing your dreams, your goals, your thoughts, put structure around it, have an image, write expressions, post it up in your office, have it as a team exercise. I think it's important to foster dreaming among your team. So every week, layer it into your team meeting. Carve out 5 minutes where you're fostering creativity. I know that you could do blue sky sessions where you're actually, you have a topic, no idea is a bad idea, you're just brainstorming to generate ideas. to dream, to think of the unexpected, the impossible possibly, and then the transition part of that is taking those ideas, writing it down, creating structure, and then putting that into, you know, what most of us entrepreneurs know as a business plan. That's transitioning the dreaming into the designing.
Got it. No, that sounds great. I know that I got wrapped up for many years just in doing every day and not taking a step back to actually journal, write things down, to kind of design and kind of dream. And I found when I started to do that, it changed the shape of the business, and it made it, I was much happier, took a much better direction for me and for the team. And I definitely found that having that collaborative effort where we talk as a team really is huge, because you know, you really want to work as a team and you're more effective like that way. So if you're all on the same page, it's huge. And if you're not, then you just kind of don't get anywhere fast.
Absolutely.
So as a business owner, you've mastered the dreaming and the designing phase of things. So tell us a little bit more about how that works and kind of give us a recap of why you utilize that.
I think it's important to note that, you know, when you're working with a public relations agency and someone like myself, I mean, you need that support in dreaming or goal setting, creating structure, designing, planning, and that's part of, you know, why we're in business, right?
Sure, yeah.
So that's part of this discussion. Yes, it's our motto at Sheehy Strategies. Motto number 3 is dream it, design it, do it. And perhaps by having that as part of the fabric of how we do business, we can inspire you to carve out more time for intentional manifestation, to realize, you know what, maybe it's time to put some of these ideas that are on sticky notes into an actual business plan, because that business plan is going to help you create a value system that was loosely formed or you've never given any thought to that. I think that's part of this discussion, is that we're challenging you to look at where is there a deficit and how can we be of service, or how can we inspire you to focus on that. And, you know, by having a motto series that makes us reflect and also challenges you to take your business to the next level.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I know that my business kind of developed very slowly because I didn't really have these plans, and it's worked out great for me. But I think that having these sort of actions and these goals can really accelerate the process to getting to where you want to be. So I wish I'd met you 20 years ago. You could help me with this sort of thing. But luckily our paths are crossed now, and I've kind of found my way. It's worked out really well. But I think that this is really valuable to any business owner, is being able to kind of take these lessons that you've kind of packaged into this motto series, and being able to apply them to themselves will really be very helpful. So
Thank
I think
you.
It's great
Well,
approach.
I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Likewise.
And certainly welcome any ideas or feedback.